Hello, and welcome to my Crochet Glep tutorial. For today, we are going to need a 3.5mm crochet hook, scissors, a row counter, a stitch marker, a yarn needle, lime green yarn, white yarn, black yarn, purple yarn, and some stuffing. Once you have all your materials, we can get started on the body. First, we're going to make a magic ring, and then place 8 single crochet inside of the magic ring. Just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And make sure to close off the magic ring by pulling it like this. Once you are done with the magic ring, we get to work on row 2, which is 8 increases. So to make an increase, you place 2 single crochet inside of the same stitch, just like this. 1, 2. I will show you one more time. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet inside the same stitch. You will repeat this increase pattern until you reach 16 stitches in the round. Once you are done, you might need to pull the magic ring again, but after that, it is time to work on row 3. Right now, I'm just grabbing my stitch marker so I don't lose my place and I know where the round begins and ends. So for row 3, make an increase, so 2 single crochet inside the same stitch, 1, 2, and then after that, you will place 1 single crochet inside of 1 stitch, just like that. So 1 increase, 2 single crochet inside the same stitch, and then 1 single crochet inside of 1 stitch. You will repeat this increase and single crochet pattern 8 times until you have 24 stitches in the round. And this is what it should look like when you are done. Now I'm just going to move my stitch marker and then begin working on row 4. So to start off row 4, once again, make an increase, 2 single crochet inside of the same stitch, and then you will place 1 single crochet inside the next 2 stitches. Once again, 1 increase, so 2 single crochet inside the same stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. You will repeat this increase and 2 single crochet pattern around the entire round until you have 32 stitches in the round. And this is what it should look like when you're done with row 4. Now we get to work on rows 5 through 20, all of which just being 1 single crochet inside of each stitch. So each row will have 32 stitches in the round. I will show you what it looks like at the end of row 5, and then I will cut to the end of row 20. This is what you should have at the end of row 5. Once again, until you have finished row 20, you just place 1 single crochet in each of the stitches in the round, so 32 stitches. And this is what it should look like when you are done with row 20. Now we get to work on row 21. So to start, we are going to make a decrease. To make a decrease, grab the first 2 front loops of the next 2 stitches with your hook, just like this. Pull 1 loop through, and then pull another loop through the 2 stitches you have on your hook. Then after that, you will place 1 single crochet inside the next 2 stitches. Once again, make a decrease, grab the first 2 front loops, pull a loop through, and then another, and then 2 single crochet. You will repeat this decrease and 2 single crochet pattern until you have 24 stitches in the round. And this is what you should have at the end of row 21. To start row 22, we are going to make a decrease. So grab the first 2 front loops and crochet with them, and then just place 1 single crochet inside the next 1 stitch. Once again, make a decrease, and then place 1 single crochet. You will repeat this decrease and single crochet pattern until you have reached 16 stitches in the round. This is what you should have at the end of row 22. Before we start row 23, we need to stuff this little guy. So grab your polyfill or stuffing or yarn, whatever you are using, and then just stuff this little guy. Don't stuff him too much, but not too little either. You just gotta find that right little balance. Here I have decided that this is enough stuffing for what I'm trying to achieve. Now we get to work on row 23. So grab your hook again, and this entire round is just going to be 8 decreases. So grab the first 2 front loops, and then single crochet with them. First 2 front loops, and crochet with them. You will do this 6 more times until you have 8 decreases in the row. And here's what you should have at the end of row 23. Now we get to tie off this little guy. So cut off a long tail of yarn, and then pull it through with your hook, and remove your stitch marker if it is still there. Now grab your yarn needle, put the tail through the eye of the needle, and then we are going to stitch the tail through the front loops of the row 23 that we have just made. Once you have done that, pull the tail tight so it closes, and then you're going to tie this off. So stick your needle through, pull it back up, and then I like to put it through this little loop that I've created. I do this 2 or 3 times just to keep it extra secure. And then once I'm done with that, I like to stick the needle through the body, pull it all the way through, and then with my scissors I will cut off this little extra tail of yarn, and then just throw it into my stuffing bin. And then with that, we have finished the body for Glep. Now we get to work on his 2 little mouthpieces. So to start off, we are going to make a magic ring. And then inside of the magic ring, we are going to place 4 single crochet. So 1, 2, pull it tight if you have to, 3, 4. Then after that, we are going to tighten the magic ring. And for row 2, we are going to place 4 increases, so place 2 single crochet inside of each of the stitches. 2, and then 1, 2 stitches. At the end, we should have 8 single crochet in the row. And this is what it should look like when you are done with row 2. For rows 3 and 4, we are just going to place 1 single crochet inside of every stitch. So row 3 should have 8 single crochet, and row 4 should also have 8 single crochet. This is what you should have at the end of row 3, and then once again, just place 8 single crochet to make row 4. And this is what it should look like when you are done with row 4. For row 5, we are going to place an increase, so 2 single crochet inside the same stitch, and then 1 single crochet after that. So 1 increase, 2 single crochet inside 1 stitch, and then 1 single crochet. You will repeat this increase and single crochet pattern until you have 12 stitches in the row. And just like that, we are done with row 5. For row 6, we are just going to place 1 single crochet inside each stitch. At the end, you should have 12 single crochet. And this is what it should look like when you are done with row 6. For row 7, we are going to make an increase, so 2 single crochet inside the same stitch, and then after that you'll place 1 single crochet inside the next 2 stitches. So make an increase, 2 single crochet inside the same stitch, and then 1 single crochet inside the next 2 stitches. You will repeat this increase and 2 single crochet pattern until you have 16 stitches in the row. And this is what it should look like when you are done with row 7. This is the end of the bottom mouth pattern. So tie off this piece that we have just made, and then repeat all the mouth pattern that we have just made, and then come back to this where we can work on rows 8 and 9. Rows 8 and 9 both being 1 single crochet inside each of the stitches in the row, so 60 stitches for rows 8 and 9. This is what row 8 should look like, and once again for row 9 just place 1 single crochet inside each of the stitches with 16 stitches in the row. And this is what you should have when you are done with row 9. Now this is the end of the top piece of the mouth, so tie this off. And at the end you should have a top and a bottom piece, the top piece being longer than the bottom. And this is what the top and the bottom pieces of the mouth should look like side by side. And now we are going to sew them onto the body. So the top piece, I like to turn it just a little bit so it looks better. I don't know really how to explain what I'm doing. Honestly, I'm sorry. And then the bottom piece like that. That's about where the noses should be. And this is what it should look like once they are stuffed and sewn onto the body. Once you are done sewing on the little mouthpieces, we get to work on his little eyes, which we will be crocheting and sewing onto the body instead of using doll eyes like I normally do. So the eyes are going to be made out of 2 pieces. We are going to make the white piece first, which is a magic ring, and then place 8 single crochet inside of it. Once you are done with row 1, we get to work on row 2, which is just 8 increases. So place 2 single crochet inside of each of the stitches until you have 16 stitches in the round. At the end of row 2, this is what you should have. So for row 3, it isn't going to be crocheting all around the circle, but yeah. So just make an increase, and then 1 single crochet inside the next 3 stitches, and then we do that again, an increase, and then 1 single crochet inside the next 3 stitches. And we are done with row 3. So you're going to tie up this little white piece, and then make 1 more, and then we get to work on the little black pupils of the eye. So get out your black yarn, and make a magic ring, and place 5 single crochet inside of the magic ring. And this is what you should have at the end of row 1. Pull the magic ring closed if you need to. And for row 2, we are going to place 5 increases. So place 2 single crochet inside of each of the stitches we have created. At the end, we should have 10 stitches in the row, and with that, we will be able to tie off the pupil and sew the pupil onto the eye white. Once you are done with this pupil, you are going to go back and make another. So at the end, you should have 2 eye whites and 2 pupils. This part right here isn't mandatory, I just always like to do it. So get your yarn needle, put the tail of the yarn through the eye of the needle, and then put it through the loop after, and then the loop back. And that should just make it look a little more circular instead of having the little divot point. And then after that, you're going to sew the pupil onto the eye white. Usually for both, I make one that has the pupil to the right and one more to the left. And then I'll have that on their respective sides. To sew it on, I just use a regular whip stitch. And once you're done sewing, I like to tie the tail of the pupil to the magic ring tail. And I just do this a few times so that they're extra secure. And like before, you're going to repeat this until you have 2 fully made eyes. This is what your eyes should look like, and now we are going to sew them onto the Glep. So usually I put the one with the left pupil in the right, and the one with the right pupil on the left. So that the Glep is kind of looking up, and the pupil is more towards his mouth if that makes any sense. So now you're just going to sew it on, like how you sewed the pupil onto the eye white. Like a little whip stitch. I will speed this part up, but you can still see what I'm doing. Then once you are done sewing it on, I like to tie a couple extra knots just so he's extra secure. And when I'm done tying those knots, I will just stick the needle through the body, and then cut off any excess yarn from the tail that may or may not be there. And with that, we get to sew on Glep's other eye. And once you do that, we are going to work on his arms and legs. By the way, this is what he should look like when both eyes are done. So to make his arms and legs, we are first going to make a magic ring, and then place 4 single crochet inside of that magic ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, and tighten the magic ring, and that is row 1 completed. For row 2, we are going to place 1 increase inside of each of the 4 single crochet, so 4 increases. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet inside the same stitch. Do that 3 more times, so 2, 3, and that's 4 increases. And that is row 2 completed. Now for rows 3 through 9, we are going to place 1 single crochet in each of the 8 stitches. So for the next 7 rows, you are just going to be doing 8 single crochet in the row. This is what it should look like when you're done with row 3, and keep doing that until you have 9 rows completed. And then this is what it should look like when all the arms and legs are completed. All of them have the same pattern, so you just need to repeat this 4 times. Now you get to add the stuffing. I like to lightly stuff the arms so that they're not too stuffed, but with the legs, I like to fully stuff them. Not too much, though. For the arms, you're going to flatten it, and I will show you how I do that. So get your yarn needle, put the tail of the yarn through the needle, flatten the top, and just sew it like that. I do usually 3 stitches because he's so small, but for bigger things, I like to do like 1 stitch per side, if that makes sense. Then after that, I will show you how I like to sew on his arms. So I will make sure to find the correct place. I think that's good, yeah. And then I'll just do a little whip stitch, or I keep saying whip stitch, I don't know if that's what it's called, but I just do a little sewing stitch to sew his arm on like this. And then usually for my plushies with arms, I like to make sure that the arms can't go flapping around. You don't have to do this part if you don't want to. So I'll stick the needle through just to where the under part of the arm would be compared to the body. And then sew it through just like 1 little stitch. And then put it back in the same hole or one close to it. And then I'll bring it back up to the flattened part of the arm. And then that's where I'll tie the little knots just so the arm doesn't come falling off. Then once you're done sewing on the knots, you'll just stick the needle through and cut off any excess yarn that may or may not be there. Like how right there, it's not there. Then you're going to sew the other arm onto the same spot just on the other side. And then you're going to sew the 2 legs on both sides of him, just on his bottom. You can also sew them so they're more show accurate, but I like them like this. And then this is what your little Glep should look like when his arms and legs are sewn on. Now we get to make the last part of Glep, which is his little wizard hat. So grab your purple yarn, make a magic ring, and then place 4 single crochet inside of the magic ring. And that will be our row 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and that completes row 1. You just need to tighten the magic ring closed. For row 2, we are just going to place 1 single crochet in each of the 4 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is the end of row 2. Make sure to pop the little tip out so it doesn't become a hassle to deal with later, I guess. For row 3, we are going to make 4 increases. So just place 2 single crochet in each of the 4 stitches. At the end, you should have 8 stitches in the round. And this is what it should look like when you're done with row 3. Now for rows 4 and 5, we are just going to place 1 single crochet in each of the stitches in the round. So 4 and 5 both have 8 single crochet. Once you're done with rows 4 and 5, we get to work on row 6. This is what it should look like, by the way. So make an increase, so 2 single crochet inside the same stitch, and then just 1 single crochet inside the 1 stitch. Make an increase, and then a single crochet. Do that 2 more times, and at the end you should have 12 stitches in the round. So 3, and then 1 more time. There, that's 12 stitches. Now for rows 7 through 9, we are going to just place 1 single crochet in each of the 12 stitches in the round, just like how we did for rows 4 and 5. And this is what it should look like when you're done with row 9. Here I grab a stitch marker so I don't lose my place while counting. For row 10, we are going to start off with an increase. So 2 single crochets on same stitch, and then 2 single crochet, but both in 1 stitch. So I once again make an increase, and then place 1 single crochet inside the next 2 stitches. Do that 2 more times, and at the end you should have 16 stitches in the round. So, okay, 1 more time, increase, 2 single crochet, and that is the end of row 10. Now for rows 11 through 13, you are going to place 1 single crochet inside the 16 stitches we have created. And that is the end of row 13. For row 14, you're going to make an increase. So 2 single crochet inside the same stitch, like normal. And then we will place 1 single crochet inside the next 3 stitches. Like that. So make an increase, and then 3 single crochet. And you will do that 2 more times until you have 20 stitches in the round. And this is what you should have when you are done with row 14. Now for rows 15 and 16, you are just going to place 1 single crochet in each of the stitches. So 15 and 16 both have 20 single crochet. And then this is what you should have when you are done with row 16. For row 17, we are going to place increases in every single stitch. So place 2 single crochet in each one of the 20 stitches. At the end, we should have 40 single crochet, which is doubling the amount we had in row 16. This is the end of row 17. For row 18, we are just going to place 1 single crochet inside of each of the 40 stitches. Here I am just showing that the hat should be a cone shape and that the brim part is going to come outward and just be a little flat. So just place 1 single crochet in each of the stitches as mentioned previously. And then this is what the little wizard hat should look like when you're done crocheting. Now just grab your scissors and cut off a long tail so we can sew him onto the head. So pull that yarn through. So grab your yarn needle, and we are going to do the same thing that we did with Glep's pupils. So stick the tail of the yarn through the eye of the needle, then put the needle through the first stitch of the newest row, and then the last stitch of the last row. Like this. And then it ends up being more circular and just looks better in my opinion. So now you're going to grab your Glep, and then just make sure that the hat will fit him correctly. If the pattern is done right, then it should. Then I like to stick the needle through part of the brim of the hat, so it's like where the cone of it starts, if that makes sense. And then make sure that it's right again. And then just start stitching the hat onto the body, like this. I will speed up this part, but keep it slow enough so you can see how I am doing it. So usually, it should be fine if you sew it on just once, but I think the hat's a little wobbly for my taste right now, so I'm just gonna go around and sew it one more time, but closer to the edge of the brim of the hat. Then once you are actually done sewing on the hat, I just like to tie a couple extra knots just so that he doesn't fall off, or it doesn't fall off of him. And then you'll just stick the needle through the body or through the hat and cut off any excess yarn that may or may not be there. So, yeah, there is a little bit of extra, so I will grab my scissors and cut it off. And now our Glep is finally done. Might need to fix the hat. I don't stuff the hat, but you surely can. If you think that mine doesn't look good, then here's just a better shot of what he looks like when he is fully completed. I hope this tutorial was easy to follow and that I will see you again when I eventually do the other smiling friends.